Good job, everyone.
And now, sorry. Oh, do I keep going? Oh, so the next item is the whole school safety plan. I have two guest speakers that are going to go over the plan from the team, Master Sergeant Davis and Mr. De Jesus. And I'm going to pull up the plan. Oh. We're printing a bunch of copies.
I just ask that you get copy printed only because it's small here and this is not our format. This is CPS format. And so we have to present it in this area so you can better understand it. So.
This is like it's Zoom.
So first I'd like to say, good evening, everyone. Glad to be here today. We're just two of the voices you're here, but these voices go way beyond us. I just want to make sure we clarify what whole school safety plan means. It's not just, from classroom to classroom, from the field here, it's all the way into the home. So anything that impacts the learning of our students, we're concerned about those things to make sure our students feel safe. And we'll talk about the three pillars, the three areas of safety we're concerned about. So first, I just want to go through this real quick, and we're going to give you some data why we made some of the decision we made as it relates to the whole school safety plan. We can't get away from CPS vision. We just can't get away from those things. So if you take a look here, the blue box, you see CPS vision. All school will foster an environment where all students in the building feel safe, both physical and emotional, and also feel welcome, supported and respected by both their peers and adults. So, and it talks about those things. We looked at those and we said, well, CPS didn't go further enough. So we took that and we kind of used some of the things they had, but what we added to it is we wanted to make sure that every student feel respected and secured and affirmed. We have a diverse population. We want to make sure every student feel affirmed to who they are, where they want to be in the building, and they feel comfortable. And so we wanted to make sure we added that part into our vision. So I can read it in entirety if you like. It's statements. We are committed to fostering an environment that prioritizes the physical, emotional, and relational safety of all stakeholders, including our parents and everyone else, i.e. student, parent, staff, and community, where everyone feels respected, secure, and affirmed, and where students are able to prioritize their academic and school experience. So we want to make sure that we collaborate all those together, and our students have a good experience as they are high school students. This is that screen? Yeah. So how do we do that? We incorporate this into the academic experience. We can't just do this if we meet students in the hallway. We can't do this if, when they get in trouble. We want to make sure that we incorporate relevant, realistic learning and making sure that the social and emotional aspect of learning is included in everything we do. So we want to make sure the student can connect the dots between, what is in our textbooks, what they've already know, and we know the students learn from different ways. We know students learn based on generational knowledge, those things that they already know, their experience, and then those things that are in our academics. We want to make sure that none of those things are disregarded for our students. We want to make sure that they can speak to our teachers and our staff and come with an informed, decisions, and they incorporate all those things and come up with what we call knowledge and hopefully build some of the relationship with our staff. So CPS, well, go ahead and create your safety plan. You have one or two ways to do that. You got either step one, you assess what you already have, and we already had a school safety plan, so we just did step one. We didn't have to worry about those things. We didn't have to incorporate one. The school had a school safety team for several years. So what we did was we just took a look at data. We took a look at different members, and we had members that was out. And we'll talk about the members, but the members are not just the people you see here, but the members are the different teacher leadership teams, admin, and everyone in the building, and mostly our student voice. So here are some of our strategies, the whole school safety plan. So I just want to show you some of the data before we move forward, so you'll know why we selected the 3 concentrated areas. This is CPS data. This is survey the CPS created, and the students, parents, and family members would provide this survey. And hopefully you can see it a little bit better now. We go to student responses here. So 603 students, and we'll get into the other part later, so I just want to focus on the student responses. And I just want you to just pay attention to some of the things that was important to our students within the top 3, and we'll look at the bottom 3. We'll talk about some of the answers as I move forward. So the question, I feel my school provides a high level of physical safety for all students. And I'm just gonna hit a couple, 18.6% of the students feel it does. 44% students somewhat agrees. We still have students that feel that they somewhat disagree and strongly disagree. And we have to figure out why those students feel that way. And so we are definitely interested. If one student feels they're not safe, that's one too many, and we agree to those things. We look at neither agree or disagree at those students that say, well, I don't have enough information, I think to myself, whatever it is. So we just leave those as middle numbers. So we really focus on the upper tier, the 1 and 2, and also 4 and 5. So that's what we're gonna be mostly focusing on today. So what's important to our students? These are the overall ranking. So what's important to our students, and I hit metal detectors, security cameras, security staff, those things make our students feel safe. What's not important to our students, is anonymous tips, open conversation around guns and cell phones. They feel that that's not important. Not all students, but we know that there's some importance in it, but they rank low. So I'm not saying it's not important at all. Again, anything that our students say, whether it's 1 student or 100 students, we know that it's important. But they are not, we just rank them from 1 to 8. CPS just ranked them from 1 to 8, not we. And the top 4, as you see, metal detector, security officer, staffing, cameras, and emergency preparedness. That's the drills we do in making sure the student feels safe, whether it's a fire drill, whether it's an intruder drill. We want to just make sure we continue to do those things and we take them serious. Emotional safety. Emotional safety is the student's ability to go speak to their teachers about certain things, be open and frank about who they are. And so if you take a look at this, 16% of students believe, and that's 85 students, 16.1% strongly agree that there is a high level of emotional safety. There's 39% somewhat somewhat agree. And then you look at the bottom tier, there's 7.8% of the students somewhat disagree, and that's 4.9 strongly disagree. Again, just because the numbers are high in the positive area doesn't mean that we're not going to focus on other things, because we know we have a lot of work to do. So what does it rank? And what are some of the things we can do to impact emotional safety? The peace rooms. We have the peace rooms. Suicide awareness. We did a couple of those this year. The school did a couple of those this year, which was great. Mental health awareness. They do that in all the small groups. They talk to the students. Students feel comfortable talking about those issues. And the reason these things probably more important to our students is because they speak to each other. They know each other issues. They know each other problems. So these are some of the top issues. What's least, of interest is social media workshop, classroom management training for staff. These are at the bottom tier. For whatever reason, we haven't had some of those conversations, but we know that they're all important as it relates to educating each and every last one of the students we have here. This question, I feel my school provides a high level of relational trust. Most of the students believe they do. They believe they can speak to their teacher, they can talk to their teacher, if they have an issue, they can communicate with their teacher, whether it's the teacher, whether it's another staff member in the building, whether it's admin staff. Most of the individuals believe they have someone they can go to in the building. Someone. They've had build a bond with those individuals. Very few say some would disagree and strongly disagree. And we want to make sure that we, again, communicate and connect with those students so we can raise those individuals up to the strongly agree or some would agree. How do you rate relational trust? Every child want to have a safe adult to go to. And we all want that. Even adults want that as well. Mentoring program, started those mentoring programs. We have a couple in the building. And we have some that are founded, they're out there, but we also have teachers that have adopted some on their own. So we have several of those out there. We just got to just make sure they're more structured. But definitely the culture and climate team with students. So all those things that you've heard in previous meetings, you heard in previous TCT meetings throughout the school, those are some of the priorities of the students. What's least priority? Access to out of school time programs. That's whether it's detention, whether it's suspension, those things are least important, which means most of our students are looking at other things. It relates to restorative justice. Staff response. As you take a look at the staff response, it's a 52 response. Staff members. These are some of the things. Feeling safe. If you take a look at our staff, we're at the bottom tier. We believe that we need to make the school safe because I think for staff, and this is just me, looking at some of the things, if we hear that one student feels safe, we believe that's one too many. And I don't know why those numbers low is like it is, but maybe it's things they see in the hallway, but we want to make sure that we tackle the issue of physical safety in the building. You'll hear more about that a little bit later. But 15.2% of the staff, which is only 7, believe that they strongly agree. We have 12, which is most of them, somewhat disagree that the physical safety of the school is where it should be. Where does it rank? If you look at the security staff, cell phones in hallways and bathroom management and monitoring, what that tells us, and something we've been hearing all the time, all along, structure, policies. Want to make sure we have those things, and also just make sure that we have some uniformity throughout, from classroom to classroom, those things. And so when students know those things, and maybe that's where we're getting when we're talking about the physical safety. When students know what they're supposed to do from classroom to classroom, maybe they'll do it, and we'll have better data because these things won't be some of the issues we have, and not just having a policy, making sure that we're enforcing the policy. And that's pretty hard to do sometimes, especially when you're trying to look at some of what the student voice is saying and some of those things. But I think we'll get there. High level emotional safety. Again, these are some of the areas we need to work on as the staff. I would tell you that who knows the students best? Classroom teachers. I mean, I agree. Classroom teachers know the students best. And so you can't discount what you see here because students say they feel what? Comfortable talking to staff. So where are their voices coming from? This is where their voice is coming from. So we truly believe in this data. So we do believe that the emotional safety is an issue we need to work on because most of our teachers believe that they somewhat disagree and strongly disagree that we're supporting the students in that aspect. And what is it ranked? And when it ranked, it has different categories. Conflict resolution, doing a better job of that with our students. Mental health awareness. We started those things. There's a lot of those things out there, but with all the things that's going on inside school, outside the school, we just want to make sure we have more of those things. And I think that we've been having a lot of nurses coming in. We have a lot of social workers coming in. So hopefully we're hitting some of those things as it relates to our students. And we know that we have more issues and more areas of concern than we have individuals that support those concerns. And so we're actually getting there. You see the peace room is down lower. Suicide awareness is down lower, but definitely conflict resolution and those things are high. And so I can just continue to go through this. I just want to make sure that I don't take up all the time. It's a long night. So I just want to hit a couple of things with the parents. So just so you can see some of theirs. Physical safety as it relates to the parents. Parents believe the school is safe for the students for the most part. This 15 parents, and then people say, well, 15 out of how many? I mean, we just can't make parents do the survey, but at least the one that have taken the survey has done those things, and we have quantitative and qualitative data that we did use to do this. So those that didn't do the survey, individuals that come in to go into the main office, we get that information as well. Some of the parents mirror our students as it relates to some of the concerns. What are the top important priorities? Metal detectors, cameras, security staffing. Those things are important for our parents. What's least important? Open conversation and anonymous tip lines. Emotional safety here. Do they feel the school provides a high level of emotional safety? Those parents that took the survey believe so. And we can continue to go through here. I just hit one more, and it says, I feel my school provides a high level of relational trust. For those parents that took it, they definitely believe that we do those things. But again, anytime you have somebody underneath the threshold of these things, we definitely need to work on those things. So I'm going to have Mr. Davis go over some of the quantitative data that we had.
Good evening, everybody. Angel Jesus, Culture and Climate Team, one of the deans here. Our data last year into this year, some of it has gotten better. Most of it has gotten better, thank God. And I just want to give a quick shout out to the counseling department and Ms. Valespino with one of our interventions this year was the groups that we had that she is taking care of. I try to help her from time to time, but she ran with it, and the students are helping her out. A lot of our high flyers from their freshman year or sophomore year of last year, a lot of their incidents have gone down dramatically. I'm not going to mention any names, but staff here know a couple of them. We love all our students, but some of them need a little bit more support, which is cool. So when you guys look at this data and the numbers and the type of infractions, CPS is ranked from 1 to 6 when it comes to infractions. It used to be 1 to 7 back in the day, but now they brought it down to 1 to 6. So our highest level of infractions last year was a 3.5. A 3.5 is basically something that they do over and over and over, a repeated behavior. A 4.14 is also drug-related substance abuse, whether it's vaping THC, gummies, different things like that, unfortunately, that our kids come in with. And 2.7 is any lighters, nicotine, cigarettes, things like that. The vapes that you guys know that are like blueberry or pineapple, whatever it is, that you guys have smelled, unfortunately. But the thing is, from last year into this year, they've gone down dramatically. Some of those kids that were abusing THC, substance abuse, regular weed, whatever it may be, are part of those groups and have been a focus since the beginning of the year to get them to a better place. Obviously, some of these kids do these things because they have a lot of stuff going on in their lives, right? And we sometimes fail to understand that. We just look at them like, oh, this kid's smoking weed again. No, there might be something else going on. There might be a story behind it, right? Some of those stories are some parents have gone to jail. Some parents have died. Little brother or little sister who was just born has passed away. And they're coping with that trauma by, unfortunately, abusing some of those drugs because they're looking for that outlet to be able to speak to an adult or another student. And then some of these groups are focused on students that have lived a similar trauma. Counseling has what we call a grief group, right? So students that have lost someone in their family or things like that. So those students are together. Substance abuse students are together to be able to share about what's the reason why we're using these, right? Why are we using it so often? Why do we have to smoke when we come before school? And then by third period, I need to smoke again to escape about whatever is going on. So those are just a couple ones that we see there. Last year, one of our highest ones was what was called mob action back in the day. It's not called mob action anymore because of the negative connotation that was there. So I'll give you an example. If there was a big group fight amongst 10 students, let's say, and each one of those students gets 3 days of out of school suspension, that's going to throw our rates through the roof, right? When we have one student versus one student, it's a lot smaller. But then this year we got hit with level sixes because we did some expulsions this year. Unfortunately, some of the infractions that we had in the beginning of the school year that everybody knows of. It's all over the Instagram and it's all public. Unfortunately, that some of our kids got hurt. They're fine, but some of these kids are dealing with a lot. Some of these kids need therapy. Some of these kids need anger management through journeys, through Ms. Valdespino, through counseling. So when you look at further data that I'll show you guys will be able to see the difference. When we look at data, it's not always negative data, right? Just because our data goes up doesn't mean that's a negative thing. Last year, this school was ran by Mr. Hanna and myself when it comes to discipline, attendance, and all of that. Now we have Mr. Leiden and Ms. Mahich on top of that. So our data is going to go up. There's more people writing kids up. There's more people having conversations. There's more parent conferences. So a lot of our numbers are high, but then a lot of our high infractions are a lot lower because of it, because of that relational piece that we have with the students, because of the connections, because of the 1,000 hours of conversations that we have with them to be able to get them to the point where, man, you know what, I was going to make this bad decision, but let me go talk to Hannah really quick so I could try to calm down. A peace room, very great idea. Miss Scalari's room is super great up there. She de-escalates a bunch of students before they even come down to us with a lot of issues. And for next year, what we're trying to do is build our in-school suspension room as a peace room to go in so it doesn't feel so punitive, right? We don't want students in there just looking at it like if it's just for paint to dry. We want somebody to go in there to be able to de-escalate. And in-school suspension doesn't have to be a whole day thing. It could be a 1 or 2 period thing, half a day thing, or a PM ISS thing. Because we spoke to Mr. Mike Aguilar-Dale, one of the CPS leads of discipline, and he pretty much told me, whatever it is you want in school to be, that's what it is. Because sometimes a student just needs to be out of that one classroom for that one day, but they can have a regular day for the rest of it, right? So it's something that we're working on. Obviously, manpower is very important. Right now, when we do have ISS, Ms. Hall is doing her best to try to be there and help out. We give her lunch breaks as we walk in. Ms. Mahich walks in there and she has attendance interventions with the students. Ms. Valdespino sometimes pops in there and has interventions with them as well. So we try to make it as informative as possible because the goal is for the student not to want to come back to in-school suspension, right? That's the goal. But when they see that sometimes, man, this person is listening to me or XYZ, they're going to continue to look. But it's one of those things that we want to restore whatever relationship happened inside of the classroom or the cafeteria or out in the field or anything like that to get them back to where they need to be. So again, some of those numbers that are high, a lot of them are lower from last year. You can look at the opposite side, the opposite row right there. A lot of them are down. Again, mob action from 519, from 223. A lot of our kids have calmed down. I know you guys know a lot of our kids that walk around together, completely different from last year.
Yep.
Yes, there's still a little, but from last year into this year, a lot of it has toned down, and that's a lot of the work that we've all been doing together. I forgot to shout out Ben. Ben has been a godsend with Mr. Ben and Mr. Chris. They have a lot of those kids, a lot of those young men that were a part of this 519 inflation last year. Okay. Sorry, go ahead for the next one. This is broken down a little bit further. So these are infractions right here. The ones that we've used the most this year are a 2.8, a 3.11, and a 3.2. For some reason this year we've had a huge influx of gambling. But when I say gambling, we're talking about just playing dice. So dice in the bathroom, dice in the stairwells, dice in the lunchroom, dice inside of a classroom. And unfortunately, this day and age, this generation is pushed by making money, right? So they'll be in a pot of friends, maybe 6 or 7 of them, and there'll be dollar bills on the floor, and we find them in the bathrooms. The most favorite bathroom is by 311, by Necessity, by Ceramics, and we've caught many a person in there just playing dice, and they're like, man, how do you guys catch us? I'm like, well, I walk like this, and you guys can't hear me, and I walk in and I see everything on the floor. So we've gone to a point to where the interventions have been pulling in parents to explain to them. Obviously, it could go from gambling playing dice to playing craps at Rivers Casino, unfortunately, and you could lose a whole family, right? It becomes an addiction. So they don't know that piece. Our students don't know that piece because they're not thinking about that. So when we have those conversations with them, it's more understanding where they're like, oh, wait, yeah, you know what? You're right. I have a family member who actually has a problem with gambling. And nowadays, with a lot of these apps that some of us here have, where you can bet online and you just need a debit card to hook up and bet on football games, baseball games, whatever it is. And those don't have age restrictions because a lot of our kids have those. So those are things that it can become a huge problem for them later down the line. Might not be a huge problem now, but it will be down the line. 311 is a misuse of cell phone. We try to catch a lot of the kids that are either in the classroom recording, teachers, each other. If there's an altercation, they're recording in the hallway. That's what, unfortunately, they would get hit with. A 2-8 is a disregard for school instruction, right? Any staff member, whether it's our lunch lady, our custodial staff, our IT guys, our teachers, it doesn't matter who it is. If you're not following instruction from a staff member, an adult in the building, it could even be an LSC member. Like, we are speaking to you because you're supposed to be doing X, Y, Z, and you're not meeting that requirement as a student. Obviously, when we have that due process with the student, we explain to them what they did wrong to see what they understood about it. And we're hoping to get that right answer. If we do not get that right answer, then we try to guide them to that answer. And then something clicks right away. We're like, okay, yeah, I could have done that instead of going this route. So like I said earlier, our 6-8 right here, that's the biggest one that changed from last year to this year, an aggravated battery. So think about it this way. If I get into a fight with someone, it's standing up and we're okay. It's a regular fight, right? But if this person goes down and I'm still continuing to attack this kid, it becomes an aggravated battery because this kid is defenseless. So that goes with punching down, kicking, slapping, whatever it is, tackling, things like that. So we had 2 huge fights this year that everybody knows about on the 2nd floor that involved some of these infractions, to where luckily one of our subs, Mr. Skinner, bless his heart, was there early, and Mr. Ramin was there as well early, and then our security guards responded as well, and we were able to help out a lot of the kids that were there, because everybody is tough, but if it's 6, 7 on 2, it's pretty difficult to defend yourself, unfortunately. Right, and we try to have as many eyes as we can throughout the entire building, but we only have a certain amount of security guards. Sometimes they take days off, and our deans are not deans that sit behind a desk and wait for problems to happen and come to them. We're always in the hallways. We're always visible. We're always in the hallways during passing periods. So we try to be as visible as possible. So the students see us and they're like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and walk this way and do what I need to do, and being proactive with that, right? And sometimes they come up to us and say, hey, like, I'm having this issue. And instead of having to look for us and that issue happened, they find us right then and there, right? That goes with that relational piece that we have with those students, to where they're comfortable coming to us and having those conversations.
So based on some things you heard and what you see here in the quantitative and qualitative data you hear throughout the building, the whole school safety team had to come up with 3 priorities. And so what are those 3 priorities? And these are things that you've heard in the presentation: physical safety, emotional safety, and the relational trust of students and staff. And you start seeing some of the things that are happening now, where you see the staff luncheon, you see all those things. It's about getting together. And I think one of the things that you have to understand is what we're trying to do is where you hear discipline, you hear all these other things, is when you apply a corrective action on a student, you do it as they're going to get it someday, not that day. And sometimes we get confused. And when you do that, is they're going to get it that day, then what happens is students feel like they're a failure and they don't try anymore. And so that's why sometimes there's a misconception of the deans are not doing what they're supposed to do, but what they're trying to do is just to make sure the student have an opportunity to recover. So, And that's when we have that emotional safety for students to make those mistakes. So let's just hit those things real quick. The physical safety of the students, you heard some of those things. Make sure we have metal detectors, make sure we have security, make sure we have all those things, and making sure students just feel comfortable walking through the building and walking home into the building. And so you'll see, even when it was cold and warm, security outside, you have admin outside in the morning, you have admin outside in the afternoon. So just want to make sure they see the adults walking through the building outside in the hallway so they feel safe. Because some of our students won't say some of the things. And so looking at those things. Emotional safety, making sure they have a comfortable place to go. You heard about the Scolari room, you hear about all the different organizations, the different groups, the different teams, you hear about all those things, and include the teacher in the classroom. Make sure that you are their voice and you have a place to speak their truth, whether it's in a TCT, whether it's a success, whether it's grade level, wherever it's it, we make sure we have those things. So the two of the priorities are, leaders will promote those things, inclusion, they do those things, and leadership team will commit to those things. And when we start talking about the leadership team promote inclusion, we integrate all the different teams that I just mentioned. But also the leadership team will commit to school-wide restorative justice practice. And those are some of the things we're trying to do, just make sure that we understand that it's restorative, and it's not a punitive aspect. And that takes time. And as you can see, the work is the data that Mr. DeJesus talked about. It's working. Maybe not as fast as we want it to work, but it's working. And that's where the relational trust comes in. When students feel they can make those mistakes, and some of them may not be mistakes, but they feel they have a second chance. They feel they can be who they are. They feel they can come to you and ask for support. They feel they can tell you something, and you're gonna support them, and you're gonna understand both them as a person, their flaws and their academic flaws at the same time. So the students want to see those things, and I definitely think that we're on the right track there. And so these are some of the things. And when I say we're on the right track, that means we're not there, and that this is why we elected some of these things to focus on. And you'll see some of the things we actually going to be doing. So where does that take us? This takes us to, and I'm going to just go to the end real quick. The SAR funding, you already know about all those things. How they benefit the school, how it impacts the school. You're not going to have a response as you would if police is in the building. There's certain things school can't do, and I think Dr. Vetch just talked about those things. Have you had to go through a level of different individuals in order just to get the police or anything out here? And so it takes longer response. And so meanwhile, the individuals here has to make sure they maintain control of what's here until CPS deems necessary to give you the answer you need. So you have to wait by crisis and all those things. So with that said, so the SRF funding holds school safety admin to support with all elements of physical, emotional safety and relational trust based on candidacy pool. So of dean, we're talking about the youth intervention specialist, and we're talking about the conflict resolution specialist. So those are some second option. Those are second option. So those are some of the things that we're looking to do to support this whole school safety plan. Subject to your question or anything from a partner, that concludes our presentation.
So a lot of it, what I want to say, a lot of this work happens off hours, right? Just one example, Dr. B got a situation on a Saturday to where she was like, I need help. And I know everybody in this building, either by face or by name, and first name and last name. So my heart obviously is like, all right, what's up? What's going on? I got out of where I was and I got on Aspen on my phone and I started going through it and I contacted whoever needed to contact, right? Do I have to do that? No. I do it because of the love I have for this school, right? So when it comes to the options, admin has to do that. Sorry to say, but admin has to do that. If they get a call, safety and security, whatever it is, a bomb threat, a gun threat on a Sunday night for a Monday morning, admin has to answer that call at 2 a.m. to figure out how we're going to be proactive for the following day. Lefty cannot make those phone calls. He wants to, but Lefty cannot. Okay? So when it comes to dean, security guards, conflict resolution, that's here, 9 to 5, 7 to 3, whatever it is. But a lot of the action that we get inside of this building comes from the weekend, especially 3-day weekends. We have Memorial Day coming up. I'm pretty sure the Tuesday that we come back, I'm gonna have a lot of action, which is something that we know from data and past years' data. The data speaks for itself. We know what hot days are when it comes to attendance. We know what hot days are when it comes to behavior.
Right.
A lot of the planning that we do happens in the summer, right? Some of those positions are not 52-week positions. A person over the whole school safety of the building, that's 52 weeks, that's on call 24/7, will help that cause, right? Security guard is only here for 38 weeks or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where I love my job. I never question the love I have for my job and the kids. But sometimes it's like, man, right? So it's just those things that we thought about together as a group, and counseling, a few other people that were there. I think it was like 15 of us. I don't know. And we were going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. What's the most, thing to actually put this funding towards that we'll get our best bang for our buck for our students, for the safety of the entire building, for the safety for baseball games, softball games, volleyball games, track. More people, more hours, more efficient.
And most of the parents cannot get here during the regular school day. They mostly come on the weekend. And I would definitely also say that with all those incidents that Ms. Stacy talked about, anytime you have a student to student, whether it's this school or that school, then it's going to have a call to the principal or someone, especially if outside in the community.
Oh, I present a motion. I present a motion to approve the whole school safety plan.
Close. Thank you. Open for discussion. No discussion. Close.
I don't have, is it possible we get an electronic copy of the plan?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure, that'd be great.
Any other questions?
Who seconded the plan?
Mr. Cost.
I just want to say thank you. I think this is like what the staff has been asking for. I mean, I've been seeing it in action, right? I stated it last time. I've been part of the hallway sweeps. I've been seeing the relationships, that we have with the kids. Even with the staff, it's just like a lot of things have been changing and it's for the better.
Right.
And so I like the way that everything's going, and I know other staff members have been speaking on it. So thank you guys.
So close discussion, roll call for both.
Plus my list.
Dr. Vilches,
Yes.
Ms. Lopez,
Yeah.
Mr. Keelis.
Please say aye.
Okay. I'll vote yes. Mr. Koss,
Yes.
Ms. Dunn,
Yes.
Ms. Hernandez,
Yes.
Ms. Shoei,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
And Ms. Destiny.
Yes.
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 votes, Mr. Captain?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, so motion passed.